welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who has a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, I have some special guests with us to discuss what's been going on in the news politically. And there has been so much, it's been crazy. So we're going to just have a free for all, just enjoy one another, mixing it up and what have you, and looking forward for you all to join in. I've already put the link in the chat so that those of you in particular who are on YouTube, you can actually use that link if you don't have a YouTube membership in the live chat. And for the rest of you, I hope that you will just join in with us, okay? So first, I'm going to introduce my first guest, Sharon Mullins. There she is. Hey, Sharon. How you
Hello,
doing?
everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Sharon is an insurance professional who is also a writer, digital marketer, and PR professional. Sharon has served on numerous community boards and commissions and has held office in civil rights organizations. She is currently writing for several digital outlets, and she's right here in Durham, North Carolina. Welcome, Sharon. She's also known as the chocolate writer. So,
Yeah, I had to leave my name up there.
okay.
Thanks for having me, Pam. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for having me.
Absolutely. Let's see how I can do this layout. And next we have Latrice Davis. Latrice is no stranger to the show. Latrice is a senior court clerk at Queens County Civil Court and a native New Yorker. She is a former journalist with the Associated Press and a community activist of Queens Community Court 6, serving on its Aging and Social Services and Disabilities Committee. Can't talk today. Welcome, Latrice.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, ladies, let's just get into it. We're going to start on with some good news. Oh, hey there, Terry Allen. Hey there. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with some good news. Some good news that's happened this past week. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act passed. Yay! Medicine costs can be negotiated by Medicare. Imagine that. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
People will get a break on these healthcare costs, prescription costs, what have you. We did lose out on the overall cost of the $35 per month on insulin, which would be, I don't know why the Republicans didn't go for that. I mean, they're just mean. Yeah. Corporations, they have to pay their fair share in taxes. That's a good
But they don't want to.
No, they never want to.
Mm-mm.
They never
don't want to.
They want us to pay it, but they don't pay it. Another good piece of news, the act that passed extends the Affordable Care Act program to reduce overall insurance costs. I don't quite know how that works, but it's supposed to work. Climate change, energy policies to slash carbon emissions. That's always good, but I think I don't know. I hope it's not too little too late. Why didn't we listen to Al Gore 35, 40 years ago, y'all? Why didn't we listen to Al?
For the same reason we didn't listen to Jimmy Carter before him.
That's true, because Jimmy was a good old peanut farmer. He knew stuff. He's a smart man overall, really, right? Yeah. But anyways, we barely got the vote, though. We know that, because if it wasn't for Kamala casting to get us over the finish line, that wouldn't have happened. So any thoughts about it at all, guys? Sharon, you got any thoughts about it? Anything you'd like to say about it?
Well, I'm with you. I just don't understand their opposition to the $35 insulin. I mean, diabetes doesn't care what party you are.
No.
Diabetes doesn't care if you black, white, Puerto Rican, Christian, Jew. It just doesn't matter. It's people.
Right.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
And life-saving.
Yes.
So, I just don't understand how anybody could look at that and say no.
Yeah,
I just don't understand that. But as far as the act is concerned, there are reports coming out by Forbes and other outlets that this act actually will not reduce inflation right away.
Then I don't think anything will happen right away.
That's what I'm getting to. They're putting that out there so that people who do not understand it fully are going to think, oh, so they just passed an act that's not going to help us at all. No, that's not true. And so I wish that these outlets would be more responsible with their journalism and put out accurately what they're trying to say and tell the whole story. First of all, you have to understand why the inflation is here to start with.
Right.
And the Republicans, of course, are lying, saying this is due to Biden's spending.
No.
And that's not what it is.
No, it isn't.
Ted Budd, who's running against Sherry Beasley, I've seen his ads about 5, 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah.
In it, the first thing he says is that this spending is caused by Joe Biden's spending.
Right. Well, who knew that the war in Ukraine would happen, for one? And who knew that Ukraine was the breadbasket to the world? Did you know that, Latrice? I didn't know.
I didn't.
I didn't know that we depended on Ukraine for wheat and stuff. I had no clue. I think, when they say that the economy is global, it truly is global, and in ways that none of us really are aware of until something happens.
Correct.
So, that's.
I think for a lot of us, we look at it as, oh, those are things happening over there.
Yeah.
They don't, and because it's over there, it doesn't affect us over here until it does. As you mentioned, with the war between Ukraine and Russia, that leads to economic sanctions, and then that leads to belt tightening. So there are many factors that are causing inflation. And I've always said I never expected Biden to be a miracle worker.
No,
like he's juggling a multitude of issues.
Yeah.
Just think, around this time a year ago, after we pulled out of Afghanistan, and there's still, effects coming from that, after effects a year later.
Right. Absolutely. And also, too, we this COVID situation, we cannot deny what it has done to everybody. Okay, not just mentally, physically, financially, and then we had all those stopgaps in supply chain. So, I mean, it is what it is, because when China shut down, one thing I know, we've had too much dependence on other nations for stuff. Period.
And that's because we outsourced our manufacturing.
Right.
If as a kid, I would read about like places like Detroit or Ohio. They were manufacturing towns. Ohio would manufacture like Goodyear, for example. But all that's been outsourced to other countries.
Right.
And so that makes us dependent on them, because we don't create anything on our own anymore, or at least not like we used to.
Not like we used to, and we need to turn that paradigm around. We really do, really do. But anyways, and another piece of good news is that gas prices have steadily been going down. Very, very, very good. I just came back from Vegas, and their prices were still really high. I mean, but it's always higher out west than it is, on the east.
Well, I'm not a car owner, so but it does affect me, because I get around, as I always like to say, I get around with 2 feet in a Metro card. So even though the gas prices are coming down, I'm waiting for food prices to come down as well.
Yeah, the food prices, I don't know.
And I'm not talking like expensive things like filet mignon or shrimp. I'm talking basic stuff like bread, milk, eggs, and cheese and sugar, like just everyday basic staples, food staples.
Right.
Or like other things like aluminum foil. Like the price of that has gone, and it's like, whoa, So.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, you know what? One of the things that I hope with this show and with other people who are communicators that we can help the administration with messaging about it is not the administration's fault. And God forbid if the Republicans were to take over at this day and time, because it will be a show enough mess, which leads us into the ugly news. All about Trump.
And there's a whole lot of it too.
There's a whole lot of that. So I wanted to start off positive with the good news. But let's talk about your boy Trump, or IQ 40.
Well, I don't know if I would call him my boy, but like, and I say that half jokingly because my oldest brother lives in Florida, and I often mockingly refer to Governor DeSantis as his boy. And he's like, I ain't vote for him. I was like, I never said you did, but he, for better or worse, he's your governor.
Yeah, that's another subject. Is he's dangerous because he's an educated, dangerous man.
Yeah, like Trump is a moron.
Right.
DeSantis is not. That makes him more dangerous because he has his eye on the big picture, along with Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. Like those guys, you can't take your eye off of them because they're following Trump's playbook and they're better at covering their tracks than Trump himself.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, ladies, I'll start with you, Sharon. What do you want to say about IQ 45 Trump? What you want to say, Sharon?
I'm like Whoopi Goldberg. I don't utter his name really. Okay. I call him 45 Problems. That's the name that I invented for him. Because you know the old Jay-Z song 99 Problems. That's what he just 45 Problems, and that's what I call him. So 45 for me. I'm just the January 6th committee reports. Mm-hmm. When all that stuff started rolling out, it was everything that I thought was happening anyway.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So when I'm looking at people clutching pearls, like, oh my God, I'm like, have you been watching, sister?
Yeah, or have you been awake? Or have you been comatose the entire time?
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, wait a minute. We didn't need, some of us who are paying attention did not need January 6th committee to know this is what this man was doing.
Right.
Now, why is it that you are just figuring this out? Where have you been? Were you one of those people who said never Hillary and stayed at home and but her emails? Was that you?
Yeah.
Are you one of those people that's the reason why we even have to deal with him anyway?
Right.
Yeah. See,
that ties into the recent event in Cincinnati where a guy showed up at the FBI field office. I mean, all these things are connected.
Yes.
They're all
connected. I think that's where journalism has fallen asleep at the wheel. Okay. That they're not connecting the dots like they should, and they have far more resources than I do.
True.
Yeah.
And it's not and the connections, you're right. The connections are not being told. But one of the things I wanted to say when I was thinking about what I was going to say on this show is, if you are a registered Democrat, you're not out here just mad as hell and telling everybody that you know how mad you are and how concerned you are about what's going on, and you're playing nice in the sandbox. We are never going to get anywhere.
No,
that's my whole message tonight. That I want people to understand. I understand about the going high and taking the high road and being
no more high road
and all of that. But this is wartime. I don't know if you all are Godfather watchers, but I love the Godfather 1 and 2.
Well, there's a time to go. There's a time to take the high road.
Michael was like, "Look, I love you, Tom, but I need a wartime concierge right now."
Okay.
And that's what we need to do. We got to go to war. This is war.
They
are attacking our civil rights and trying to take us back to the time of the Confederacy. And I don't understand why people are not like just upset about this.
Yeah.
I feel hopeless because I'm just one person. I can't be upset by myself.
No, you're
not. I think people express their anger in different ways. Like, there's a time to take the high road and there's a time to go for the jugular. And I am way past the point of the jugular.
We're at jugular, but we all need to get there and understand we are at jugular, whether or not you want to be at the jugular or not. This is where we are. There's no room for this playing nice in the sandbox anymore.
There is no
room for it.
Who's in the sandbox? I don't know nobody in the sandbox anymore. Really?
They're in there playing. Somebody
But
in
the
there
thing
playing.
is, if you really think about it, I mean, think back to before Trump, before you know who won the 2016 election, and the shenanigans that Mitch McConnell pulled when Merrick Garland's nomination for the Supreme Court was blocked. I mean, the signs have always been there. I think, again, we're just, you know, the media is not doing a good job of connecting the dots. And to answer Ann Bush's question, I always encourage people to read multiple sources for news, whether it's Al Jazeera, BBC, C-SPAN, at the end of sports, ESPN. And granted, those are all legacy media outlets. There's also independent local news, depending on where you're at. I imagine in North Carolina, you have local bloggers who do stuff that could use support. But, you know, I always say the information is out there. You just have to know where to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, I suggest that people consult media outlets that you were trusting before 2015. Okay. If you trusted them before 2015, more than likely they're a viable source. Anybody since then, these outlets that people are creating things and calling them a media outlet, and they're not.
You're right.
And that's another problem. Like you often hear words like misinformation or disinformation. And I'm thinking to myself, when I was in school, they were called those things were called propaganda and lies.
Yes.
What happened? I mean, granted, I was in school many years ago, but not. Even though things have changed, it hasn't changed that much. Like if you're saying like you hear alternative facts, fake news, and I'm thinking it's just lies and propaganda.
Right.
Why not just cut through the BS and call it what it is?
Right.
And we've had this conversation before, Pam, about messaging.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have.
Because we're too busy taking the high road. I'm back on that. Messaging, you are absolutely right, Latrice. We need to call it what it is and stop tap dancing around it.
Right. Right.
I mean, when they're racist, they're racist. When they're being evil, they're being evil. When they're being ugly, they're being ugly. We need to say it. Not uncooperative. Yeah. Not difficult to get along with.
Correct.
We need to call it what they're doing.
Right.
If they're being sexist, they're being sexist. Yeah. That's what they're doing.
Yep. Well, and that's the root of all these issues. Racism, the pillars are racism, one, and sexism. Those, I mean, it all comes down to that. It's racism, sexism, classism, if you want to throw that in there. But it's all rooted in race and sex.
I agree. That classism is a key thing, but that comes third. Really.
Yeah.
That's the Holy Trinity, if you will. The Holy Trinity is race, gender, class.
The main catalyst behind the majority of what they want to do is racism. I don't care what anybody says. And I've said this to many people. Black people are the most despised and disrespected people on earth. We can't go anywhere without a faction of people hating us just for showing up. And it's ridiculous.
No, they don't just hate us for showing up. They hate us for existing.
That's what I mean.
Which is the thing I can't wrap my head around. Because I've always been of the mindset. I've always been of the mindset. I've always been in the mindset, if you're living your life and doing your thing, you don't have time to hate. You really don't. Right. And so when you see, people on TV spewing racist things, I just think, man, you have that much free time on your hands?
Right.
Like, really?
Right.
But, that's on them. I can't help them. They have to want to eat. Like, I don't hate them back. I just want them to evolve, but they have to put in the work. They have to want that for themselves.
Right. Listen, so let's get to the big elephant in the room here. Okay, so IQ 45 had his Mar-a-Lago house rated, very nicely rated though. If he hadn't told us, we wouldn't have known, because the White House, nobody said a word. Nobody said nothing. Merrick Garland is just, he's cool. He's cool breeze.
He's methodical.
He's methodical.
Because he called Trump's bluff. Well, he called his bluff.
He did.
By unsealing the warrant. He called his bluff.
I give you to 3:00. I loved how he gave him a deadline. I love that. That was a false move.
And Garland was like, okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing, guys. Here's the only thing that really bugs me about this whole thing of all of this top secret stuff that he has, because my only imagination is that you would only take stuff like that if you plan to use it. Otherwise, it's just sitting there collecting dust, right? And so knowing him, he was going to try to monetize it because it's valuable, very valuable.
Oh, yeah.
And who's to say he hasn't sold it already?
Exactly. That's my point. And that's what I'm getting to. Why did it take so long for the feds to act? They've been working on this for over a year.
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
They should have really issued, had the subpoena, whatever. He defied the subpoena. He did everything. He didn't do anything that he was supposed to. And then he comes back later talking about all you had to do was ask. Well, they've been asking you for a year. They've been going through this process and they've been being too nice. And so it took them over a year to take it by force. And I just wonder if it were President Obama, how long do you think they would have gave him? Would have been a year?
I mean, we already know the answer to that.
Yeah.
They would have gave him like, okay, Trump moved out of the White House January 20th, 2021. If that was Obama, the FBI would have raided his house January 21st, 2021. They wouldn't even give him 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, I've seen the memes like with Obama sitting there like with his, pensive, like, I wonder how Trump is going to blame this on me. I've seen the memes and they're very funny, but it's also sad because like Obama's been out of the White House for how many years now? He's not even thinking about the former occupant of the White House, and yet he cannot keep Obama's name out his mouth.
Sure can't.
He can't.
6 years.
Yep. And not only that, not only did he take materials to Mar-a-Lago, do you remember when you heard the story about him flushing papers down the toilet? And the toilets were getting backed up in the White House? Omarosa swears that he was chewing stuff. Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear that, but again, I wouldn't put it past. That's the thing about him. I can't put anything past him. So no matter how outlandish it sounds, it's like, you know what? I could actually see him doing that. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But the fact that so many people have fallen in line with his thinking and it thus enabled him to get away with the shenanigans that he got away with during his 4 years in the White House and year and a half out of the White House.
Right.
That concerns me because McConnell just got reelected again. How that happened, I don't know, but I don't live in Kentucky, so I'm not going to touch that one.
He runs Kentucky. He runs Kentucky.
So it's like, again, like, it's very easy to blame Trump for everything that's happening right now in this country, but it goes beyond him. He's simply, I'm not sure how to phrase it, but I don't want to say, I mean, for lack of a better word, Flashpoint. He's a flashpoint for everything that's going on, but it's way bigger than him. It is way bigger than him.
Yeah, and that's really scary in that now, I mean, you see where people are really going in on the FBI. I mean, look at that guy that got killed in the cornfield and what have you, because he went up, he shot a nail gun into the FBI office and he thought he was going to win that fight. And then somebody just showed up at the Supreme Court or something they did.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah, it was another attack this morning I read about. Yeah.
At the Capitol.
Yeah.
He shot up in the air and then killed himself.
I mean, people, they have absolutely lost it. So one thing my mother mentioned to me, she says, when you're dealing with a cult-like following. And that's what we're dealing with essentially, is that people have just, it's like a cult-like following. It really is for Trump. It's like our dear leader, I mean, our fearless leader is scary. And so how do you deprogram all those people? How do you deal with those people? How do we coexist with those people?
I'm not sure that we can. I think the one of the mistakes we've made is we've tried too long to extend an olive branch. But again, they have to want to change it. And I have not seen any, actions on their part to indicate that they want to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only way that they will change is if those who got it and actually have already learned the truth and gotten out of the cult actually can reach those people, because we can't reach them. They're not going to listen to us.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those people who have been punished for the January 6th stuff can, I don't know. I don't really.
I mean, like a couple of gentlemen have been sentenced to 7 years in prison for what happened January 6th.
Right.
And I'll never forget something that Charles Dutton said, the actor. He said, when you're in prison, you have a lot of time to think about why you're there.
Uh-huh.
So assuming that we make it to the end of this decade, when those men are released after serving their 7 years, hopefully they will think about what led them to do what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's the thing. It's a crapshoot. You hope that they learn, but I have my doubts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do too. Because what their social media friends are saying is that they're wrongfully convicted and they're wrongfully being in prison and calling them political prisoners. I'm just like, what in the world are you?
I mean, listen, we could stop spending money on nuclear arms and stuff like that, because America is really being destroyed from within.
From within.
I mean, it's not an outside force anymore. It's within. And the FBI reported on this about the domestic terrorist situation years ago. They told us that years ago. And now it's come to a forefront where they keep chanting about civil war.
I think that's where we're heading. I think a lot of them, like the chatter you hear amongst groups like that, you hear references to the Turner Diaries. And have I sat down and read the Turner Diaries from front to back? No, I haven't. Mm-hmm. But I have heard of the book. I know what the subject matter is about. And I think they really want to see that come to fruition. They really want a real life Turner Diaries.
They do, which is disgusting and evil in my mind. Why would you want that?
I don't know, because we have a wonderful life here in America. We have a constitution. We have all of these things. And what's really interesting to me is that you really realize that democracy really is a great experiment.
Yes, it's very fragile.
It is very,
very fragile.
That's exactly the word I was about to use.
How fragile it is. And I mean,
fragile.
Here it is. Okay, here's a comment. There are more people involved than Trump, and someone is going to be charged in jail. Well, they can't get charged in jail fast enough, because Trump is still talking about possibly running for office.
Yeah.
Well, because he wasn't impeached. And that's a whole nother conversation right there.
He's going to run.
You think he's going to make it to run?
Yeah, he's going. Well, okay, let me put it this way. If the Justice Department doesn't do what they should do, he's going to run. And in fact, his supporters are begging him to announce his intention to run now. They want him to go ahead and announce it now. I don't know, for some reason he hasn't, and I haven't figured out why. I'm trying to figure that out.
I think he's held off on it because, again, like based on the things I'm seeing now, I think DeSantis is laying the groundwork to run.
Yeah.
And I think Trump wants to see who he's going to go up against if he decides to pursue the 2024 nomination. So he wants to see who his competition's going to be.
I heard this.
That might be true, but then as arrogant and narcissistic as he is, it would just seem like to me that he would just run. He didn't care who's running against him because he thinks he's going to win.
Again,
you know, but I understand what you're saying. The tea leaves suggest that what you're saying is correct.
Yeah. I heard this one Republican say something very profound, and it was spot on. He said, "Okay, Merrick Garland did the raid and everything." He said, "So now he's got to indict him." He said, "Either you indict him or it's all games off."
I think he will indict him. I think Garland, as I said before, he's very methodical. I think what he's doing right now is he's crossing his T's and dotting his I's. Because when he issues his indictment, I anticipate it's going to be rock solid. Keep in mind, he's a former federal prosecutor and a former federal judge. So he knows, that assuming that, he's indicted, or even better, Trump is convicted, okay, is he going to appeal? If so, okay, I need to, close down any, loopholes for that. Like, I think he's simply biding his time. I mean, granted, he's not moving at a pace that a lot of us would like for him to. So again, a lot of us want him to speed it up, but I do think an indictment is coming. And I do think he's just dotting his I's and crossing his T's. He's being very methodical because whatever indictment he issues, it has to hold up.
Right. Ladies, I'm going to show you this piece by the Lincoln Project. I love them so much.
Yeah, I do too.
Their communication. Listen, if it wasn't for the Lincoln Project, I think we would have lost the election with President Biden.
Actually, I think the fact that Trump mishandled the pandemic is what cost him the election. I think had he handled that better, there's a pretty good chance he would still be in the White House. And by the way, I'm glad he's not. But that's another conversation for another day.
Let me share something with you guys. Hold on. Okay. All right. Let me see. Okay. Let me put this copyright disclaimer up first. Okay. So I don't get doxxed by the YouTube police. All right.
Who was it, Donald? Who gave you up to the feds? Who told them what you kept in the safe at Mar-a-Lago? No, not that stuff. The classified documents. 15 boxes of top-secret files. And illegal. No wonder the Department of Justice and the FBI came knocking. But who leaked? Who sold you out? Was it Jared? Ivanka? Don Jr.? Eric? Melania? Mark Meadows? All your old Washington friends are talking to the 1-6 committee and the grand jury. Maybe it was someone closer. Someone you trusted. Now you're the first president to have his home raided by the FBI. It's bad, Donald. And there's no one you can trust. No one at all.
Oh, boy.
I applaud them for that.
They're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
They do the best job. They do the best. Oh, my God. They crack me up. And that whispering in the background. But you know what? Now that I was looking at that for about the third time, I'm thinking maybe it was Melania.
Again, it could be. I mean, she would have the motive because, unlike Donald, she never wanted to be in the White House anyway. I could see her doing it.
But you know what? Donald he was shocked that he won anyway because he really did it for marketing purposes. He really didn't think he was going to get in.
Correct.
He did it so that he could make some money off of the whole thing. And he just, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. He's got a scheme for everything. Always, 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 always.
He's just an evil man. I'm sorry. He's just.
I
have nothing else, nothing positive to say about him. Nothing.
Yeah. But what's so ironic, guys? I used to love watching The Apprentice. I'm not gonna lie. I used to crack up when he announced his running for the presidency. I laughed when he was coming down the elevator and stuff. Escalator. I was laughing because I never took him seriously. Never, ever, never.
A lot of us didn't, myself included.
You're from New York.
Correct. Born and raised. And when he announced his that he was throwing his hat into the ring, again, I just saw it as a gimmick. I think what it was, the mistake I made along with millions of other people, was I didn't take him seriously until it was too late.
Too late. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because I think back, I watched all 3 presidential debates that he had with Hillary. I watched the vice presidential debate that Mike Pence had with Tim Kaine. And I'm just thinking to myself, this man has no vision for leading America forward. There's no way he can win. And here's the thing. Hillary's not without her flaws, but I voted for her because, frankly, there was no way in hell I was going to vote for her opponent.
Right.
And here we are.
I have an attitude about the whole reason with Hillary losing, because she got the popular vote. But here again, I fought Democrats for way back when it was Gore versus Bush and the Supreme Court chose Bush as president, that we did not do anything to eradicate the Electoral College then.
Correct.
We should have done it then.
Yep.
And so now it's all up and up. We should have done something about it. Well,
But it's too late now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too late now.
And I think that all the time, a lot of times that the Democrats play checkers, and the Republicans playing
chess.
Yeah. And they just get it wrong. Judy Davis says that ad is on point. Good vibes. It sure is. It sure is. Okay, here's another comment. I don't believe that Trump will run. I believe Fannie Willis in Georgia has the information to take care of Trump. And don't forget the upcoming trial in New York.
Oh, no, I haven't forgotten the trial. I'm very aware of the work that Letitia James is doing.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying if those are successful, then he won't. But if they don't do, that's what I'm saying. If they don't do what they're supposed to do and get this man, he's going to run for office. That's it.
And I think the case in Georgia is pretty airtight because Trump is on record trying to influence the Secretary of State to gather him those 11,000 plus votes that he needed.
And we all heard it. We all heard it.
So I think the Georgia case is airtight. I'm not as up on that as I am what's going on in New York, obviously. But again, I don't see Trump. I mean, I can't fathom him walking away unscathed after everything he's done.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, ladies.
What?
I don't put nothing past these folks. That's all I'm saying.
No, you're not wrong.
Until it's signed, sealed, delivered, anything is possible to me, because I never would have imagined he would have been our president. I never would have imagined that. You guys are saying that y'all didn't take him seriously. I took him seriously straight off the rip. My mother, before she passed away, said, he's going to be president, y'take Are y'all watching this? And she warned me, and I said, no, he's serious. What I didn't take seriously was how many people would fall for this man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I gave the Americans more benefit of the doubt.
I thought we were smarter than that.
I thought we were smarter than that.
Yep.
Even the most whatever, uneducated or whatever, it doesn't matter. I felt as Americans, Black, white, Puerto Rican, it don't matter what you are. I just felt that a majority of Americans would not side with that. So it wasn't him that I slept on. It was Americans. And since then,
that too. But again, and let's go back to what I was saying before about the information being out there. I mean, those debates were nationally televised. How could these people have not seen the same thing I saw?
Because they were too busy. No, they were too busy watching YouTube videos that were fabricated of these people saying all this stuff about Hillary and Haiti and all this other junk. They were too busy focusing on social media sound bites instead of trying to really figure out what the truth was. So by the time the debates came around, their head was already full of this other garbage. It didn't even matter. And half of them that did not vote for Hillary did not watch the debate. There was a survey that came out. They didn't even watch the debates. They already had made up their mind, never Hillary. So I'm not watching the debates. I'm just not going to vote for her.
You know what I think too? I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the show about the isms. I think racism and sexism and all of those isms really came to bear when it came time for Hillary. It really did. I think that the sexism thing, and I think that a whole lot of white women who claimed they were going to vote for her, they voted with their husbands. And
man,
came out and showed it, and yet after he wins, they come out in those pussy hats, pink hats, out everywhere, talking about, oh, we're so mad. But
no, you're not.
Y'all didn't vote for her. Y'all did not vote for her like you said you were, because the numbers don't lie.
What did the exit polls say?
The exit polls
65% of white women voted for him.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do with that? Numbers don't lie.
Right. That's right.
Yep, numbers don't lie.
Dwayne Reed says, if Trump gets out of this mess, I'll call him Houdini.
You might as well get the HO.
Man, don't disrespect Houdini like that. Don't disrespect the dead like that.
Get ready, Dwayne. Get ready.
Oh, Delana, no, Delana Wilcox. He will, shaking my head. No, baby, he can't. No, I refuse to let him get to think that he'll get away with that. He cannot get away with this.
He became president.
The only way I could see him getting away with everything is if he dies before he goes in front of a judge and jury. That's the only way I could see him avoiding any,
I don't want that to happen, because you know what they'll do? They'll have him like a shrine, like a demigod.
A martyr. Yeah. They'll call him a martyr.
But that's the only way I see him getting out of this mess without facing any consequences. That's the only way.
I am praying you are correct, Latrice. I am praying you are correct.
Yeah.
Oh, no, nothing surprises me either, Miss Wilcox. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore either.
That's where I'm still shaking my head because he became president, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Yeah. I still say that to this day. I still cannot believe our country elected this man.
What I can't get over is that I used to laugh at him and thought his show was good. And I just thought of him as just this kind of buffoonish kind of character. I never looked deeper behind the story about him or anything. I just saw the glitz and gold everything and stuff, and I just saw that's Donald Trump. I never ever would have imagined in my wildest dream that he's like this.
He's changed a lot.
But here's the thing, Pam, what you're saying is not uncommon. Like, as a New Yorker, I knew about the whole Central Park 5 ad in the New York Times. I knew about the multiple bankruptcies. I knew about the affairs because, well, for better or worse, he's in my backyard. But
I know
how other people did, and again, this information was out there. Mm-hmm. It's not like it was hidden.
I
don't see how you didn't know.
Part 5 thing that really. But
the ad was. I remember when the ad was put in the paper. I remember.
I don't remember.
I remember that.
I don't. I'm sorry.
No, I do. I mean, that's why I can't think about what you're saying. How we gave Americans too much credit because they fell for the okie doke.
I did.
But this goes back to what I was saying before. It's like, this information was out there. It wasn't hidden. Mm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Karen.
Karen, that was an issue too.
I mean, what lesson are we going to teach telling people not to vote, to exercise their constitutional Right, that our people died.
And it wasn't only Killer Mike, it was Ice Cube and some others too.
Ice
saying
Cube
the same
did it
thing.
too. I'm through with him.
Saying the same
And
thing.
another one, and here's another one. Colin Kaepernick. I support his right to take a knee, but then when he turned around and said he didn't bother to vote in the 2016 election, I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
don't you realize that by not voting, you're undermining everything you claim to be fighting against regarding taking a knee?
Exactly.
Like the cognitive dissonance, just like.
But the good thing I will say about Kaepernick is he learned from that mistake.
Yeah,
because somebody has gotten in his head now, and he will not vote again.
Right.
You see, he had never voted.
Right. And
that's what was so sick.
He was like that because when I saw that, he was saying that like he was bragging about it. I'm kind of like,
he was.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
like,
right.
I had to put him on sideline stats. Like, you didn't vote and you're bragging about this?
Yeah, he was. But what I'm saying is, since then, some people has pulled him aside and taught him about himself. And I believe he's fallen back from that now. But then it was a terrible time to say it.
Yes.
And then it did not help us in any kind of way.
No, it did not.
It did not.
No, it did not.
It said, Dwayne says Trump has been a crook all his life, and people didn't do their due diligence before he was elected.
Exactly.
Right.
I think
the information was out there.
I think Dwayne is correct, but the difference was Trump did more dirt that personally helped hurt people around him that he dealt with. Mm-hmm. Now he's hurting the entire nation, and that's what is just so. It's just so it's just unfound. It's just so incredible to me. I'm like, how in the world?
Let me tell y'all something. One thing that I kept harping on, and this is from my professional point of view, was that I couldn't believe that we were going to allow him to stay in office once we started seeing things that were happening, because it was destroying the brand and image of the United States. This raid on in Mar-a-Lago and all of this stuff, and then the whole thing that happened with abortion rights and everything, we look ridiculous around the globe. We really don't look good.
They're looking at us and laughing. They've been laughing ever since he won the election. I will never forget that. It was like 2 or 3 days after the election, I read an article from across the world, like all these news outlets from different countries, and they compiled it in a video. You can watch it. Them reporting on the United States voting this man in the office, and they just
it's like a bunch of editorials, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And people were reading from them and everything in the video, talking about what they're feeling. You saw a man on, you know how you do the man on the street with a microphone, going around to people, talking to people. Oh, the Americans are idiots. I mean, just saying it. And I'm just like, we look bad. Y'all did that. We didn't do that. Y'all did this. You're gonna have to fix this right here.
Exactly. It's like,
I need to hire you. The United States need to hire us, Pam. We PR professionals. Let us do the PR. But because this right here, this is something we might not ever come back. It might take us 30, 40, 50 years to get over the stench left by this man on this nation.
I pray that we can get him locked up or indicted or something before that. Just a big reality show, Delana says.
Well, this is a reality show that impacts a whole lot more than just the audience.
Yes.
Like, again, like with Trump, I was watching the debates, and again, he had no vision for moving America forward. His vision of America didn't include people who look like me. So I knew off the bat not to trust this guy.
Yeah, right.
And again, if people had done their due diligence, like Dwayne Reed commented earlier, if the basically the evangelicals sold out their followers because they were all hung up on abortion. They were hung up on that. So they got what they wanted. They got Roe versus Wade overturned. Now what? They're not going to stop there. And as a Black woman, I knew that from the get-go.
Right, right.
They're not stopping at Roe versus Wade. And now all of a sudden, white women are upset, like, oh no. It's like, well, Your whiteness is not going to save you. Your proximity to whiteness isn't going to save you. If you're not a Christian white male, you are beneath them.
Yeah.
That's exactly
But
right.
he says, I'm most alarmed how the evangelicals embrace this man to the point where I question most of these leaders that call themselves Christians. Dwayne, I did a whole show on the white nationalists, white evangelicals with Dr. Jonathan Augustine, otherwise known as Pastor J in Durham, North Carolina.
Yes.
I am going to repost that show, and I'm going to do a part 2 on that because there's been
good
talk. And
that was a fantastic show, Pam.
Thank you.
Oh my God, that was a fantastic show.
Here's his book, A Call to Reconciliation. This book, do I have it centered? This book
here, right there.
Keep it right here.
Right there.
Okay. This book is the business on that subject, and I'm gonna have to have him on again. But Dwayne, I'm gonna repost that show on my page so that you can listen to it, because this book is very small. It's not very thick, but it's powerful, and we have got this. He breaks it down all the way from the Nixon era with the evangelicals and all of that. Listen, any of you guys, even if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, thumbs up the show, please. I appreciate it. Let's see what else we have here. Karen, we know someone who has unprotected sex with a stripper, has probably paid for several abortions in his lifetime. Oh yeah, of course he has. And look at all of those guys that are there in Congress. And listen, abortion, all it is going to be more difficult access for those people who aren't wealthy, right? But those who are,
and it also depends on where you reside. Like if you look at I remember seeing a map of all the states who would have trigger bans and 13-week bans and stuff like that, and they tend to be concentrated in the South and the Midwest. Yes. Where I'm at, I'm going to be okay. Yeah. I've never had an abortion. God willing, I never will. And if I find myself in that predicament, hey, I would have access to resources because I'm in a blue state. But I am fully aware that there are so many other women who are not as fortunate. Right. And furthermore, if you were to travel out of state, that costs money.
Yes.
You have to pay for traveling, then you have to pay for accommodations. Right. I mean, there's just so much that goes into this.
Right.
I mean, the act in and of itself is the least of our worries now.
Right. Absolutely. It's ridiculous. And Sharon and I are here in North Carolina. So people will be coming to North Carolina from Georgia, South Carolina, and those are two immediate surrounding states that would come here. Sharon, did Virginia put a ban on abortion? Do you know?
They're in process, I believe. I don't think they're there yet, but they're in process.
Okay, it's just I tell you, it's just
and that's going to be a drain on your resources because you want to help these people from out of state, but you have to help your own constituents in state.
Exactly.
And I don't know how many doctors providers you have in North Carolina, but I imagine
a ton.
Oh, you have a lot. Okay.
Well, here in Durham, we're the city of medicine, but I don't know how many people do abortion. I don't know.
I mean, because I have to keep in mind that not every place is New York.
Here's the other thing that drives me nuts. They're making women keep, like those women whose babies have died in the womb. They have to keep it in them until they can get sick.
Until they deliver them.
Well, they're
making them deliver stillborn babies. They're making them deliver them.
But sometimes
couldn't that have an adverse effect on the woman herself? Like
they don't care.
They don't care. I mean, and they had some women on CNN talk about that. It's sick. Abortion is healthcare. I don't want, not that anybody ever grows up and says, "Oh, I want to have an abortion." Absolutely.
Exactly.
But the fact of the matter is, it is very much a part of healthcare. It really is. So I say, stay out of the doctor's office. What happens between me and my doctor and our discussions, that's us. That's not
our
the
business.
world.
And here's another thing I
Get your
find
hands
that
off my
tends to be
body.
apt.
Right. Oh, go
But I
get
do want
back to me. How
But
about
I want to bring up something that I notice tends to be absent from the discussion, which is okay. This woman did not get pregnant by herself.
yes.
Is the father going to step up and do what he's supposed to do?
Exactly. And you notice none of the bills have anything for the other party, meaning
Exactly.
So I
It's
want
all about controlling women. But I'm thinking to myself, well, who are these women getting pregnant by?
exactly. Not by air, certainly not by air or even God himself, because everybody ain't the Virgin Mary. So it's not, it's the
And
regular.
yet that element is never addressed. It tends to be glossed over or ignored altogether. And it's like, well, okay, if these men are so concerned about, we put the women's reproductive organs, hey, you can remedy that on your end.
Right.
No.
Dwayne says Billy
Don't
Graham
do
once
that.
said that the GOP wants nothing to do with evangelicals other than to manipulate them. Okay. Well, I don't know if they said all of that, but I'm gonna get you that video, and I'm gonna have Pastor Jay do a part 2. We're gonna continue that discussion. But next week I am going to have a discussion, a part 2 on the abortion aftermath with the lady I did the part 1 with, who's an attorney, Narissa Smith, and also with a friend of mine named Julie from Detroit. She has a very interesting story about abortion in the 1980s in the city of Detroit. I think you guys don't miss that show. It's going to be
I'll check it out.
It'll be really good. Julie's in the group as we all are in our politics group. It's just, guys, I just hope that something happens fast, because I do not want Trump to even announce that he's running, because he seems to think that if he runs for office, that protects him it shields him somehow. I don't know. And it shouldn't. I don't think it should.
I don't think it should either. Yeah. I mean, I understand what Sharon was saying earlier about how, he's a narcissist and he's going to do what he wants regardless. But I think he's biding his time. I mean, he's not the smartest man in the room by any means.
No.
And the people he has chosen to surround himself are apparently not that smart either. But I do think he's keeping his eye on DeSantis and Governor DeSantis and Senator Hawley to see what they do. Because I think he's slowly but surely realizing that if he decides to throw his hat in the ring for 2024, he's going to have competition.
Yeah. And DeSantis, he's scary to me. DeSantis is very scary. The don't say,
as he should be.
The don't. I don't know. He's creepy and he's mean.
Yeah, he is
awful. Meanwhile, he didn't want other people to wear masks in school, but his private school that his children went to, it was mandatory mask wearing. Okay,
right.
So
hypocrisy is thy name. Hypocrisy is thy name.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ladies, you have any last points of what you think that we need to do? Because midterms is less than 100 days away.
What you mean to win?
Yeah, to win. Any thoughts that you have on?
Yeah, I've got some thoughts.
Okay, tell us.
We need to tell the truth with emphasis and stop pussyfooting around and being nice. I'm sorry.
And we need to have a plan. Like, it's not enough just to say, okay, like right now there's a congressional race in New York. The New York Times endorsed there's several races, but what stands out with the New York Times is that they endorsed 3 white guys. And in all 3 races, there's only 1 white guy running. So that's Congressman Nadler, Dan Goldman, and Congressman Maloney. And so people are talking about how it is out there. There's women of color, other people running, and yet the Times they chose to endorse 3 white guys. And what does that say about? So we need to have a plan. Like, Okay, it's not enough just to run on quote unquote identity politics, but we need to have a plan. Like, okay, assuming that we get in office, what are we going to do? We need to hit the ground running.
Right. Absolutely. We do need to hit the ground running. Everybody, make sure you thumbs up the show on whatever platform you're listening from. And make sure that you tune in next week. I'm giving you a little blurb about it. It's going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Nah, that topic sounds very interesting. I'll be tuning in next Sunday.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Okay. Dwayne says, history says we'll lose seats, but voting in Roe v. Wade may turn the tide. Absolutely. You saw what it did in Kansas. And that goes to show you, when those white women get mad and they decide that they make up their mind about something, they have the power and the numbers of influence, because people were surprised about Kansas. Little old Kansas, Midwestern Kansas, Alice in Wonderland, Kansas. Okay. Kansas showed them what they were working with, right?
And that can be repeated anywhere. We can
that can be replicated. And it needs to be. It needs to be replicated.
We can do this all over this nation.
Yes.
Because nothing moves without women. And until we realize that.
Right. And I think and like I said before, I think these white women are realizing that, hey, their proximity to whiteness isn't going to save them.
No.
Because I think some of them are getting it, but not enough. We need enough of them to start getting that.
Right.
Getting that message.
The Kansas sisters need to talk to them and say, look,
they need to go everywhere and tell everybody how to do it.
You better recognize it ain't enough to come out with them little pink hats after the
exactly.
Because we needed if those women had showed up like they were supposed to on Hillary's night, she would have had that whole breaking the glass ceiling here in America, and we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in now. And
here's the irony. I think the country's ready for a woman president.
I do too.
I think the country's ready.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I wasn't crazy about Hillary, but I voted for her. Yeah. And, in terms of 2024, what women assume, like if Biden runs for re-election, that's one thing. But if he doesn't, what women are going to step up or ready to step up or want to step up? Because I do think they're out there. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic that we'll have to talk about is Kamala, because I think that a lot of people have really not been fair towards her in terms of what her role and her position is. Never before have I heard anybody say, well, that vice president isn't doing anything. What are they doing? When have you ever known of the vice president to usurp the president?
Well, that's the thing. She's the VP. She's not the HNIC.
Yeah, but
it's the Biden administration for a reason. Like, he's the president. She's not.
Exactly. But too many people want to put that on her and criticize her heavily.
Correct.
And it's just
and that's not fair to her.
Not fair. It is.
And like Pam was saying, it's happening in ways never seen before in the history of this nation. Nobody was ever having this type of expectation of the vice president before her. Now all of a sudden, now everybody wants to question.
You're right. What's she doing?
Where is this coming from?
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Well, ladies, it's that time. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you, audience, and your activity in the chat. And Latrice and Sharon, the chocolate writer. Thank you guys so much for participating in tonight's show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good night, Pam. Have a good night, Sharon. Continue to stay safe, everyone.
Yes. Good night. Let's wave them off, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.